Hey everyone, welcome back for another virtual cooking class. My name is Kate Watts. I'm a registered dietitian with Cone Health, and I've got guest chef Lynn Wells of Time Well Spent here with us. Again, we are super excited for tonight's cooking class. We are going to be talking about charcuterie boards, and Lynn, your spread looks wonderful. I'm going to let you go ahead and take it over.
All right, well, thanks. It's good to see you, Kate, and welcome everyone. This is a perfect topic for this time of year, appetizer for Christmas or having guests over. This is my favorite one-stop shop for appetizers because you get pretty much everything in one big plate or board or whatever you choose to serve this on. The first thing we need to do is figure out how to pronounce what I'm going to put together tonight. Charcuterie is a French term that has to do with cooking method, primarily using pork. So bacon, pate, salamis, pastrami, things like that. And it's taken on a whole nother path, if you will. The food marketing experts have caught on. If you've been to Costco or even your nearby grocery store, they have these, trays that are already pre-wrapped with some cheese slices and maybe some dried salami or pepperoni and some breadsticks all wrapped up together, and you're ready to go. And that's great. The other thing the reason I thought this was a great topic for tonight is, I don't know if all of y'all are familiar, but I know a lot of folks are doing, it's some type of fasting, if you will, or they're only eating certain hours of the day. So if your big meal is at lunch and you want a light dinner, this is it. And there's a lot of times where I'll have some cheese and crackers or maybe some dried fruit and nuts, and that is dinner. So what I'm going to do tonight is kind of walk you through how to make your own charcuterie board, or if you don't want to be fancy, just meat and cheese platter. But I'm going to walk you through and give you some ideas to make it, to use lots of different varieties of ingredients and make it look pretty, because I feel like we eat with our eyes first, and you want the food to look good. So what I do is you go around the house and just kind of look at what you've got. Like this is a platter that I got at Target years ago. It's a long and narrow platter. I've also got these round wooden plates that are great. I've got really big. I'll show you one. Really big. These are antique pizza boards that I saw them at the furniture market years ago and had to have them. If I'm going to do like a catering for say 50 people, I could put two of these on a big island in the kitchen and just pack it full of what I'm going to go over tonight. And, not dealing with chafing dishes, and you're not having to heat up anything. And, this is just a food safe backboard, if you will, for what we're going to assemble. So there are some components to a charcuterie board. Typically, you'll want to have a couple of different kinds of meats. Capicola is one of my favorites. It's got a lot of fat in it, and it's also a little sweet and mild. You can get that at specialty places like Whole Foods or Giacomo's Italian Market on New Garden Road. If you're in Greensboro, they've got lots of different options there. But I like to go with something a little spicy and then something a little bit more mild. So those are your meats. And then you could, depending on the season, this time of year, I like to use red seedless grapes and dried fruit. So you've got dates, you've got figs, dried apricots, dried cranberries. You could do golden raisins, in the fruit area, and then some nuts. So I've got mixed nuts tonight. You could also use walnuts or pecans, and you could even take it a step further with your pecans or walnuts and put a little, put them in a skillet with a little bit of butter and some fresh herbs chopped up, and coat the nuts really well. And, just put them in the oven, really low temperature for about 20 minutes, say at 300, just so that that butter and the herbs can soak into the nuts. And then you got roasted nuts for your platter. Other components are sweet gherkins, or the mini pickles. I like bread and butter pickles, and they also make a sugar-free bread and butter pickle, so I'll be using that tonight. Black olives, or those big, nice big imported olives that are pitted. Always make sure the dates are pitted, the olives are pitted. You don't want to have your guests or yourself break a tooth and need a crown during the dinner party. Also, a good assortment of crackers or bread or breadsticks, and cheese. Cheese is probably the reason I could never be a vegan, or because I like cheese too much. But I usually, my rule of thumb is again, more visual and also with textures. So you could have something that's kind of sweet. So tonight I've got a Wensleydale with dried cranberries in it. It's wonderful, one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is Red Dragon. I'm gonna hold this up to the camera just so you can see it. I get this at Whole Foods. This is Red Dragon. You can probably see there's mustard seed in the cheese, and it is excellent, especially if you're serving it with a beer or red wine. Red Dragon is great. I've only seen it at Whole Foods. They may have it at some other grocery stores, but it's great. And then smoked Gouda. Their brie, also go for a soft cheese like brie, camembert, the boursin, or you could even make your own cream cheese spread with just, a block of cream cheese, some salt and pepper, maybe some garlic powder, and a bunch of fresh herbs like chopped fresh dill, chopped fresh parsley, and chopped chives. Mix it all together and then form what I call sort of a big hamburger patty, if you will. Just take that 8-ounce block of cream cheese and form it into a round, if you will. And that is an excellent, easy, inexpensive way to add another option of cheese. So let's get started. I've also got some mozzarella balls here that are marinating in olive oil and a little bit of rosemary and vinegar. And before I get into the assembly, all these little containers, like this is a small little planter that I got at, I think, Lowe's. These are great for putting your breadsticks in or anything tall. Little pottery cups are great. And there's no right or wrong. That's what I love about it. You can be nice and neat if you want to and follow a pattern, or you can just let it happen organically, which is what I'm going to do tonight. So I think I'm going to do, might do a couple of them. I'm going to use this white platter, and hopefully you'll be able to see as I put it together. Again, there's no right or wrong. You can choose to put the crackers or breadsticks on the platter with the food, or you can keep those separated in case some of the food is wet, like say the washed grapes or the mozzarella with olive oil. But again, there's no right or wrong. What I like to do is sort of build some height in first. I've got these red seedless grapes. And one thing I always do with grapes is you want to, after you wash them really good, you want to cut them so that they're small little bunches for your guests, so that they can pick up, they're not having to stand at the platter too long. They can just pick up a small little bunch of grapes and keep moving. So, there may be 4 or 5 grapes on one little bunch. So I'm going to put a set there, and then I'm going to put a set down here. So you can see I've got, one end I've got grapes, at the other end I've got grapes, and then I always usually cut the cheese, like if it's a block like this Red Dragon I showed you, I cut it on a diagonal. And the soft cheeses are, you don't need to, obviously you don't need to cut them because they're spreadable. But the harder cheeses like cheddar, Gouda, Gruyere, if you're going to do that, something like that, I would slice them and then put it with the wedge so that, again, it's easier for your guests to, pick it up with the tongs or the forks and just have some slices there propped up against a wedge. And then with this Wensleydale, I'm going to, that's pretty soft, so I'm going to put that here. And I think, the way I'm going to just kind of do a cheese platter and fruit platter right now. And then the next one I'll do the whole charcuterie board. So I've got these mixed nuts. I'm going to put those by the grapes, and I may just put one little bundle. And again, I'm just putting them right there on the tray. And I'm also looking at color. So I've got red, brown, it's kind of a yellow. I'm going to put, I think the olives would go nicely here. I've got these Kalamata olives that are really nice and salty and dark, and they are pitted. So I'm going to put those there just for a little bit of variety of color. And then I'm going to come back with some dried apricots. These are so good. I love them chopped up real fine and put them in oatmeal or trail mix. I think I'm going to put those right down here. Just a little handful. And I would say that this cheese platter I'm doing would easily serve between 2 to 5 people. It depends on how hungry you are. I'm going to put some pickles on there. Pickles, I think, the sweet pickles, I think, tend to go with more of the salty meats. But again, it's just a few little pickles on there. And then I'm going to put the crackers right on this platter, because there's really nothing that's going to, make them soggy. And I'm just literally letting them sort of thaw, however they may, and kind of, pour them out there and then rearrange them a little bit. And that is one, in probably 2 minutes, one little cheese platter. And I'm just putting a few sprigs of fresh thyme on there, not too much, the whole thing less is more. And I've got some fresh rosemary here. Some of you may still have some fresh herbs outside, and just makes things look nice and smells great. So this is a great way to put those little cute little spreadable holiday knives to use. So I'm going to hold this up for you so you can see it. But in no time, we've put together this cheese tray. We've got the dried apricots, this red seedless grapes, Wensleydale cranberry cheese. It's a little sweet, bread and butter pickles, the red dragon, got a little sharp bite to it with the mustard, some black olives, grapes, and mixed nuts. So let's do a whole nother platter. I'll leave this sitting here. Actually, I'm going to trade it out. I'm going to use this. I'm using smaller plates because of space, number one, but you could see where if you wanted to, had 10 people or 20 people, it's so easy to keep this stocked up and replenished. You could have either a second one made up ahead of time, wrapped and in the refrigerator, or you could just replenish each individual item as you need. So I'm going to go ahead and start this one with cheese. And I've got the Wensleydale, the Red Dragon, and smoked Gouda. And I'm going to, like I said, slice some of this smoked Gouda because it is a little bit harder, and you don't want your guests to be, like I am, struggling trying to slice the cheese and hold up the line if you've got a big crowd. So I'm just going to put that sort of fan out. And if you, again, if you want to put this in a, circle, and I just kind of tend to put it on here and then fiddle with it after I put everything together. So there are some cheeses, and I could even maybe put, I don't know, I don't like the look of that. So there's that. And then let's do the meat. So what I've got tonight is sliced pepperoni. And these are pretty big slices of pepperoni. You can, again, I just fold it in half and then fold it again. It gives you just a little fan, and it's a little tricky getting it started because you need, to kind of keep them weighted down. So I'm just going to show you up close what that looks like finished there. Just a nice little pepperoni fan. And I'm going to use this block of cheese as my anchor. Otherwise, it'll sort of unfold on its own. And I'm just going to continue to do that. And I may put this, like in a sort of get like a wreath shape going here. I'm just folding it in half and folding it again, and that's all I'm doing. So it looks pretty. It gives the platter a little bit of height. This is a really good, if you had some nice baguette that's toasted, some toasted baguette rounds, that would be good on here. So this one here would probably serve, I don't know, maybe six to 8, depending on, here's the big thing, depending on what else you're having. If you're just having this as an appetizer, you'll obviously want to have more on there. But if this is, accompanying the hot crab dip and say some, I don't know, some meatballs or something, then, this isn't going to get hit as much as if it's just by itself. So there's your pepperoni. And then I'm going to come back and alongside of it, or I could either come in this way or I could come around on the other end, but I'm going to do the same thing with this mild salami. Again, just get it, tell them you're going to make this into a tray, and you can also have these made for you, of course, but it's so fun to do your own, especially if you've got small kids or grandkids at home. Get them washing the fruit and putting the nuts on there. You can arrange the meat if you'd like. I always like to get the kids involved. So we've got a nice, kind of a hot, little bit spicy pepperoni, and then this real mild Genoa salami here. I'm going to keep circling that. I've got 3 cheeses on here. It goes pretty quickly. And then back here in the back, get one or two more on here. Yeah, there we go. Then I can move that cheese, and I'll come in with some grapes. Put some grapes there, and nobody knows that that's serving as an anchor. And then by the grapes, I'm going to put some apricots, dried apricots. Figs are also great. And I mentioned dates earlier. Just make sure they're pitted. I also love dried cranberries this time of year. I'm going to kind of keep the fruit thing going right on this side here. And mustard. Mustard is always a good thing to have when you have different kinds of meats and salamis and things like that. This is a Dijon mustard, but you can have fun with it and get all kinds of mustard. You can also just put this right on the plate, or if you'd like, you can put, find your little small ramekins and always wipe those down and put that right there by the meat. The other thing you can do with this is you can make some little signs, like business card signs, just using index cards and folding them in half, and a Sharpie pen, just sort of, if you want to identify the cheeses and the meats for your guests, that would be a nice added touch. And let's see, we'll put the mozzarella balls on here, and I'm going to put those near the other cheese because there's a little bit of oil on there, and that way they won't get anything, they won't compete with any of the other flavors. So there's some mozzarella balls. And then one of my favorite additions is a jam or a jelly or honey. Again, you've got so many sharp flavors with some of the cheeses, depending on what you choose, and the meat, whatever you choose there. So I picked a nice raspberry preserves for this. And I love the combination. You take a cracker, you put some meat on there with a little jam and some mustard, and it's just a wonderful flavor combination. And I'm going to come back in here with some walnuts. probably put those right there. And like I said, you know, I'm not using any kind of template or anything. I may put some more of this sliced cheese in the corner here to stack it up a little bit. And then we've got, I'm gonna come back this time with some rosemary. And again, this makes this, you know, smells good and it looks pretty. And I'm just gonna sort of lay it on there. Again, you know, less is more. So if you wanted to maybe have a little bit of sprig there and maybe some thyme. I don't want to, you know, have it going too crazy. And I mean, that's a meal. The other thing I didn't mention, if you'd like, you could put these are just some cheese sticks that I found for a nice added touch. Of course, you get home and, you know, half of them are broken. So with the broken ones, just make them into croutons and keep on going. But if you get anything like this tall, that's what these, you know, little ramekin containers would be nice for. You can use a glass or, you know, little pottery cup to put things like these breadsticks in here. And you can't really see the Wensleydale cheese, but my goodness, that is great. I'm gonna come around here and give you a little bit of a close-up. So we've got, I don't want to tilt it too much, but we've got mozzarella balls, the raspberry jam, some smoked Gouda in the middle. We've got red dragon, little bite to it with some mustard seed in the cheese, and some wonderful, delicious walnuts, some Dijon mustard, our Genoa salami, and pepperoni breadsticks. I mean, who wouldn't love that, right? So that is your fancy charcuterie board 101 or meat and cheese platter, whichever you prefer. But you can see easily how you set this out, have some, you know, nice soft drinks, some ginger ale, hot mulled cider, if you will, and you're all set to go. So use what you've got. Use, you know, I love using things that aren't intended for maybe their original purpose. If you're serving something hot, you know, like I've got this cute little skillet here. This might be, this hole retains heat really well. You could put this on something really big and maybe like a crab dip or an artichoke spinach dip or something, and just set it right, you know, right down on the wood block, and then fill all around it with all of these great ingredients here. So I hope that if not tonight, I hope for the holidays you'll enjoy putting together your own charcuterie board and have fun with it. There's no right or wrong, and I'm sure what you do is going to look great. So thanks again, and hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. There's lots to be thankful for this year.
Thank you, Lynn. Absolutely. Those look so beautiful, and you just threw it together. That's an amazing skill.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks really good. We had a couple questions, so I'll give those to you. So the first one was, how would you recommend if this is in like a group with guests? How would you recommend the best way to serve it as far as, you know, good hygiene practices? Does each person need to use a clean fork and plate each time they visit the platter? What do you recommend?
I'm so glad you asked. I did a party in June of 2020. I know, and I did individual charcuterie boards, if you will. I bought some really small clear plastic cups, and I put, you know, arranged all the ingredients. Like I put a couple of slices of meat, and then like one, well, in the summer we had strawberries, so I put like one strawberry, some, you know, a couple of nuts, but it looked great and everybody loved it. Another thing you could do is you get some wooden skewers that are, say, about maybe 6 or 8 inches, and make a, you know, skewer the ingredients. You could skewer the meat and the cheese and some dried fruit or fresh fruit. That's another way. And then, of course, you know, I've got these little tongs here. If you do want to go this route, just have your cocktail napkins or some small plates, and, you know, just be, you can remind everybody. I know you don't want to maybe be the tongue police, but it is important to do that. But I hope they've given you a couple of ideas, but having the right utensils for them to use and serve themselves is essential, really important.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love the idea of personalized charcuterie boards. That's really cute too. One other question was about the crackers. And again, do you prefer serving them separately or on the same tray?
So that's a great question. If this is for a lot of people, I like using 2 to 3 different kinds of crackers. Some, I'll have at least one gluten-free cracker, and then I'll have, again, I sort of, go with, look, there's so many beautiful crackers out there now. I grew up with saltines and Ritz and was perfectly happy with that. But if it's just for, say, 5 people or so, you could put them right on the platter and have a little bowl maybe off to the side, in case somebody wanted to just have crackers and not have it, on the platter.
That looks great. I also like that you did 2 separate trays and that one was more of like your vegetarian tray. I think that's great too if you do have guests with certain different eating styles. I like the idea of a gluten-free cracker. So those are really important touches to think of so that your guests feel like, like they were thought of. So I like the idea of having like a vegetarian charcuterie and then you're more like meat and cheese platter, as we like to say. So
and I would say for either one of these, you could add some grilled asparagus, just barely, flash grilled, or some roasted whole carrots, leave them whole, and put them on here. That adds a really nice touch as well, especially for vegetarian folks.
oh, wonderful. Yeah, and some good color. Like you said, the color really makes it interesting to have that variety. Well, I think that's all the questions I see. Thanks so much, Lynn. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time in December. We're going to be doing a special treat. I can't wait to see what all this turns out to be, but it's going to be our chocolate goat cheese truffles with chocolate avocado mousse. And if any of you know me, I am a chocoholic and I'm not afraid to say that as a dietitian. So I'm very excited, Lynn. We will see you next time.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.